Hey Acers, welcome to This Week in Roleplaying with your Ace Role Playing Games Club. I'm Mason Emerson, your host and your main sponsor, and I'm glad to be with you again. Well, this time I did want to touch on the fact that this last week I didn't spend much time actually game mastering, but I did prepare for the upcoming SaltCon, which will be at the end of August, August 30th, July 1st, and July 2nd. Or not July 1st, July 2nd, September 1st, September 2nd. We just got through with July 1st and July 2nd. But anyway, so on August 30th and July 1st, I will be at the Davis Events Center again to be able to run Savage Worlds. I'm going to run Deadlands, all three games. I'm going to run Deadlands Weird West. I'm going to run Lover's Quarrel. I'm going to run Deadlands Noir. And I'm going to run Perchance to Kill by John Goff. And I'm going to run, as my third one, Deadlands Lost Colony, and I'm going to run 310 Goliath's Belt. I think I already mentioned those in an earlier short video, but wanted to make sure that I put those out here just so you guys can reference them back, and I'll reference SaltCon's link in the description below. That said, I am excited to talk about Ancestries today. Now, in older versions of Savage Worlds, these were just called races, but we of course, want to be sensitive to the times in which we live and other things like that. And so Ancestries probably fits a little bit better. And now, this is for dealing with characters that are not human. Well, I mean, human is in here. But these are some other examples of other things that are available other than human. But before I go into this, one thing I want to praise Savage Worlds for, and just give them a big yay, is they make the races balanced. Because sometimes in other games that I've played, being a human was pretty stupid. Because elves got to see in the dark and could shoot their bows, and dwarves could see in the dark and they could tromp on their foes with their steel-toed boots and their big mauls and all that kind of stuff. But if you think about it, we want to try and have a character that has the potential to be just as cool as everybody else. So let's talk about a few of the races that are available in Savage Worlds. Now, I'm wondering if I can switch over to... I'm going to try and edit this one into a video proper using my editing software. So let's see if this works. If not, you'll just still get me on camera. I'm going to pause here at 3 minutes and then resume, so that way I can tell you about androids, which, of course, androids or replicants or whatever you want to call them, because this being Savage Worlds, it is a very abstract kind of thing that you can trap anything you want. So if you want to call them replicants and you're playing kind of a Blade Runner kind of game, then cool, androids are now replicants. But you would want to change them a little bit too, because one of the things that the androids in Savage Worlds have is they're built along the lines of Asimov's androids. So they have the Asimov circuits built in them, which is the of course, Isaac Asimov, his first laws of robotics, that a robot may not injure a human being or sapient being. An android may not injure, an artificial being may not injure a sapient being, or through an action or inaction allow such a being to come to harm. And then also a robot or artificial being must protect its own existence, as long as it does not conflict with the first two laws. Now, those laws are pretty cool, and most robots are going to follow those laws in most science fiction. However, the replicants that I mentioned earlier would not. So we will actually need to get back to them in a minute. So those chips, those Asimov circuits, make it so they have pacifist major as a hindrance. And that fits. Also, they have an outsider major hindrance because they are not human. So think of Detroit Become Human. They're not human. so they kind of take a hit to social interactions. They also have a vow in that they are promised to serve their masters or serve whatever their function was when they were built. And so that works as a major vow. Now, what does an android get for all of this? Androids get the construct ability, which gives them +2 to recover from being shaken. They don't breathe. They ignore 1 level of wound modifiers and are immune to poison and disease. But they cannot heal naturally. So instead of healing, an android needs to be taken to someone with a repair skill. And it takes 1 hour per current wound level per attempt, and is not limited to the golden hour. So that's the first ancestry that they give you in here, and it's pretty cool. I think that's cool that they went with that one first. Aquarians, as they stay here, they're from the crushing depths of the oceans, and they can swim beneath the waves, and they can breathe underwater, but they do have a hard time on dry land. So next are the avians, lighter boned people with wings. Dwarves are, of course, one of our standard fantasy races. The next couple pages are the standard fantasy races. So dwarves, and of course they have the low light vision, the reduced pace, and the tough. Avians, well, going back to real quick, yeah, the Aquarians are aquatic. They have a dependency of being in water, but they have low light vision and they have toughness. Avians can fly, but they're frail. They have keen senses, and they do have a reduced pace when they're not flying. So getting into the fantasy races of dwarves. Dwarves, are, of course, are the short 200-year-old cranky people, and not necessarily cranky, because I think playing a dwarf to a very flamboyant character would be quite funny. And so that could be a good source of humor. Play a dwarf that way, instead of being a cranky Scottish person, basically. Low light vision, reduced pace, but they're tough. So they start with a vigor of D6, and they can increase that. Elves, they of course are agile, so they start with an agility of D12, but they're all thumbs, so it's giving them the counter side of the fact that they have a hard time with technology, and they do too have low light vision. Half elves, they can pick whether to be human from their human heritage or their half elf heritage or their elven heritage. They either get an extra novice edge or they get increased agility. They have low light vision, and they're an outsider because neither the elves nor the humans really like them. Half folk, of course, are you can't say the name Hobbit in a role-playing game other than ones that are officially licensed. And that's part of the reason why D&D had to change it to Halfling. And Halfling, of course, being another name for Hobbit, is why they get half folk here, because Savage Worlds couldn't put Halfling in here. So it's Sue happy all over the place, isn't it? Luck. So they start with 4 bennies. They have a reduced pace because they're smaller. Their size is -1, and they're spirited, so they gain an extra D12 to their spirit. Now humans, to balance out with all these other guys, like I've mentioned kind of in passing with the half-elf, they get the adaptable trait, which means they start play with a novice edge for free. Rakashans, of course, are the kitty cat people, humanoid cats. They're agile, they have bite and claws. They're bloodthirsty, though. They can't swim. They have low light vision, and they have to choose an ancestral enemy. Saurians are lizard people. So they get scaly skin with an armor +2. They can bite. They have an environmental weakness, though, of being as they are somewhat cold-blooded. They actually are poorly suited for cold conditions. Well, they're not cold-blooded per se. They're just not good for cold conditions, so they have an environmental weakness to cold. So if you're running a Saurian group, send them on a northern adventure. Just give them a little bit of a poke in the side. They have keen senses, and that gives them the alertness edge. And they're outsiders as well. Now, sometimes none of those work. And so I'm going to pause here as well at 10 minutes and 10 seconds to say this is where I'm going to try and show some more video of the screen and show you what I'm talking about. But maybe I won't, just to avoid, getting in copyright trouble with my friends there at Pinnacle, because, hey, they're my friends, and I love them. I love them to death. My friends at Pinnacle are some of the coolest people I know in the world. So I guess I'll just keep kind of quoting from it here. But game masters and players who want to make their own ancestries or cultural archetypes. So you could use ancestry creation to create, say, another race of human beings that behave slightly different than other human beings. Now, this has really gone to the extreme in, for example, in the classes in the Fantasy Companion, which I will get to the companions. They are coming. Because all 4 of the companions are now out and at least digitally available, at least to those of us that backed them on Kickstarter. So get ready for the Sci-Fi Companion to be coming soon. So and you can use these rules. And there are certain rule types. Ancestries and cultures begin with 2 points of positive ancestral traits. Additional positive abilities may be countered with an equal number of negative traits. A +2 ability, for example, would be countered by a single +2 or 2 -1 abilities. You do not want to include, and if you want to include an ability we haven't included here, simply assign it a value based on one of the examples below. So you can rename any of these to fit your universe. So maybe, horse nomads, for example, might have a riding seal of a D6 to start with. But you might call it Born in the Saddle. So there are positive ancestral abilities like adaptable and additional action and aquatic or semi-aquatic, armor, attribute increase, bite, burrow, claws, constructs. Construct is an expensive one. It costs 8 points, and that's why if we're doing replicants, we will use the construct ability. And definitely use the outsider major. So that's minus. So construct at 8. Okay, so we start with 2 points. Construct means that we take those 2 points away and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So we got to counter with 6 more. So we'll probably take outsider. That gives us 2. And now, now we still got to come up with 4 more points. So 6, 5, 4. So got to come up with 4 more points. So let's keep an eye on what else we could take. Maybe Dark Secret Major, because maybe they killed a human being to get back to planet Earth. So 3, 2. And then Hunted or Wanted. We could take that as a major. That takes it down to 0, and it makes it so you can create an android who can now fight. So doesn't breathe. Oh, that would be something else that we'd want to put in, because replicants apparently don't need to breathe either. Edge. You could give an edge as a racial ability or an ancestral ability. And edges, of course, cost 2 points of character creation or 2 points of advance, essentially. So each edge is worth 2 points. And finally, environmental resistance is the end of page 18. Flight, hardy. So hardy is an interesting one. It means that a second shaken result does not cause a wound. And you'll find that coming back up in the beast abilities as well. Horns, immune to poison or disease, infravision, leaper, so they can jump. Kind of like Toad would have that ability. But that's going to be getting into the superpowers companion, so that's going to be a little bit later there. Low light vision, no vital organs, pace, parry. So those are increases to those. Poisonous touch. You could have a power as a racial ability, and that comes in and you roll on the gifted level, so it's a focus ability. Reach, regeneration, size, skill, skill bonus, sleep reduction, superpowers, toughness, and wall walker. Now, the negative ancestral abilities and traits, these ones help us counter that. So if we want to add in doesn't breathe to our replicants, which doesn't breathe is a 2-point ability, and immune to poison and disease is just 1. Oh, poison or disease. But if you want to take both, that's 2. So that's 4 more points we got to come up with. So let's find 4 more points of things here. So there's the attribute penalty. They're big. They cannot speak. The big ones, they have to find other things other than normal equipment, because most normal equipment doesn't fit. Dependency, environmental weakness, frail. They could have a hindrance, a 1 or 2 point hindrance, and so that's what we're going to have to probably look at. Poor parry, ancestral enemy, reduced core skills, so it reduces it. You can take that up to 5 times. Reduced pace, you can take only once, but you can take it for 1 or 2 points. Reduced size and skill penalties. So those are the ones that come there. So now let's finish our replicant build. Our replicants are going to, like I said, they've got construct, and that's an 8-point ability. They started with 2 points, so we had 6 points we needed to make up. So we're going to basically hit them hard with actually, I'm going to put this build down in the description. Let's do that. So that way we can even have more fun with it. So I'm going to pull up my Word. Okay. Okay. Replicant from Bladerunner. So it's going to have construct. Okay, so we start with 2 points. Eight points for construct. So minus 8. I'm just going to say minus 8 points for construct. Or no, we'll just leave 8 points for construct. So that leaves 6 points. However, let's get in all of our positive abilities here. 2 points for doesn't breathe. And 2 points for immune to poison disease. So we're taking the original construct, or the original android, but we are going to have to counter that. So we're going to put that in here with the 2 points from the start, and this leaves us with, after the 2 starting points, 10 points of deficit. That means we're going to have to take 5 negative abilities or hindrances. So let's see here. I'm not seeing. Maybe we're going to take some. We're going to maybe reduce the core skills. let's do two, because these guys aren't going to be very skilled at very many things. So let's take. I don't know. Let's hold on that. Maybe that idea of reducing core skills is not a good idea, but maybe we take a skill weakness or an attribute penalty. No, we're not going to take an attribute penalty either. So let's go into our hindrances. I'm just going to flip to page 50. Let's see here. Advancements on page 54, I think. Yep. So okay, page 55 for the intros to the shorts things. Okay, so possibly let's look at arrogant major, because and then that would almost be more of a racism, because they think that replicants are better. So they believe replicants are better than humans. So that's a pretty good one. Bloodthirsty. And that's also a major, because they end up trying to kill the humans that they come across if they get cornered. So we're going to put one cornered. So let's see here. Cautious. That's a minor, so we're going to have to find another minor to go with it. Let's see. Curious would be a major. Let's see what else here. Yeah, Dark Secret. We're gonna go with Secret Minor. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to say you did something or hurt someone to make it back to Earth. So actually, what I'm going to do over these next several videos is I'm going to create this character. I'm going to create a replicant from the Blade Runner universe. So let's see here. We got our arrogant major, bloodthirsty major, curious major. That's 3. Cautious minor. So that's 4. That's 8 points of deficit made up. We need to figure out. Let's see. We do have outsider. We could always go for that one. They do have the tendency to die young, though. So I'm going to steal that one from... I'm actually going to steal that one, Ailin, from Deadlands. So... But that's going to be renamed for Replicant Life Expectancy. Now, there might be some that are built without that. That's entirely possible. However, let's pull in... Yeah, so... Yeah, they basically only have a couple years to live. So that's our replicant build. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll post this in the comments down below. Tell me what you think, and see if, looking at your copy of Savage Worlds core rulebook, if there's not going to be a good place to make modifications to this. So I hope you had fun. I know it was a little longer, closer to the half-hour mark, but hey, we got us a cool thing, and I think we're going to have some fun with this character. We've given them an ancestry. Now, let's build them. So, thank you for joining me. Remember that I do love you, and you are an amazing person. The world is a better place because you're in it, and I really look forward to seeing you at my table. Till next time, take care.